All right, ladies, we have an amazing testimonial success story today. We have Miss Alicia with us today, and wow, her story is amazing. Amazing. I cannot wait for you to hear everything that's happened. And so we're just going to dive right into it. But, what I always love to start with is where we were, right? We know where we're at now, which we'll get to shortly. But you and I connected, and you had some pretty serious frustrations before we started working together. If you can kind of think back to those, maybe just shed some light on the things that you were frustrated with and struggling with before we started working together.
Yeah, for sure. Weight is definitely something that I've struggled with throughout my life. Genes not working in my favor, and probably, some family habits. I definitely, grew up on the hamburger helpers and the boxed meals and all of that. And so, I'd had multiple times in my life where I had success. I could list off all the things. I've done low carb, I've done Weight Watchers, I tried Noom, so I've done the things, and sometimes it had been successful. And COVID will say is not kind. You shouldn't put snacks, and more snacks on your grocery list. It doesn't work out so well.
Yeah.
And so through that, I had actually discovered and joined Burn Boot Camp that I love. And so I'd gotten my fitness in order and was regularly working out. But everything I'd done before, even when I was being consistent with nutrition, it just didn't seem to work anymore. And so I would go through I kept, I lost a little bit of weight, and then I kept just gaining and losing the same 20 pounds and was still, even at that, significantly higher than I'd been a good portion of my life. And it was one of those things that just what had worked, age, didn't work the same way as it once had. Like I went back to some of the habits I'd learned variously with different areas, and it just didn't work. And then I would get frustrated, and then I wouldn't be consistent. And, so it was like this, it just kind of kept cycling that way.
Right. Yes, that was so frustrating, right? And I remember you just being like, "How do I know this is gonna work?" And so you really did. You thought about it. You brought your husband, and we got all of us met and really took it seriously, because it is like you said, like, I'm doing all the things. I've tried all the things. Like, how do I know this is gonna work? So really then let's just kind of go into your results right now, and then we'll kind of talk
Yeah.
about the differences in this program versus maybe some of the things you've talked about.
Yeah.
But like, fast forward, just tell us a little bit about your journey to where you are today. So first of all, everybody wants to hear it. Did you lose the weight? Did you lose
Yes.
the weight? And where are you at?
Yep. I did the program from May till just finished up this past February. So I did a few cycles of the program and lost like 65 to 66 pounds has kind of been where I've been cycling. But with that as well, at my gym, we're able to do, they're called M bodies to get our percentage of body fat. And I actually found out this week that since that first one I did in May before we started, that I've, while losing the weight, also reduced my percentage of body fat by 14%. Um,
Wow.
so it's the weight and losing more fat than while gaining muscle. And that part of that is the workouts too, right? But it's the
Of
food and the
course.
workouts all together.
Yes, you've been
Um,
really working
so
hard.
those are the numbers
Mhm.
gains, but then like the non, scale
Non-scale
victories,
victories. Yeah.
really it's liking to put clothes on again or go clothes shopping, or like my husband and others noticing and just being happy that like they can tell that I'm happier, being able to do things at the gym that I've never
Wow.
done. I we walk jogged it, but we did do it. Did a couple of 5Ks with my daughter last year, and I know that if I was still at the weight that I was in May, that when we did those in the fall, like the difference that I was already in the journey, like it wouldn't have been possible. My body just wouldn't have been able to handle it. And
Yeah.
then kind of an unplanned benefit is I had been having some shoulder and neck issues that I'd gone through pain management and had to get an injection. And it's just anatomy of how my stuff moves and hits on my nerve. But um, adding in the weight loss along with then being able to do a little bit different training has really made it so that that seems to be better. It's not perfect, but it's
Yeah.
better than it was. And not that that was a suggestion, but I think
Wow.
the less weight put less
Yeah.
pressure on it, which means then it's not pushing on my nerve and causing nerve pain like it had been. So, and
Wow.
probably only other thing that was probably like more of a surprise too, a bit like better skin. Like that wasn't really something that, I mean, not that, I mean, who doesn't want better skin, but it wasn't a
Yes.
primary factor. Like I knew that I like physically things would be easier. I knew that clothes would fit and look better. But the neck, shoulder, and the skin thing were just kind of
Wow,
happy
bonus.
accidents, I guess.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations. 65 pounds. Like, just stop and think about that for a second. Like, wow, just wow. But like your dedication. I mean, we can't not talk about your dedication. I mean, yes, I provided you the plan and the accountability and the coaching, but like you showed up every single week. You only missed one time because of vacation, right? And you were still turning in your food journals. You turned in your food journals every week. You asked questions. We pivoted. You're working out. Like, unbelievable. And the fact that you were able to gain muscle, lose fat, and like the most beautiful thing of all, which is kind of what I want to talk about right now, is you did this in a very, very healthy and realistic and sustainable, safe way. So, with what you did in the VIP weight loss system, which is a habit based lifestyle weight loss system, how would you say this is different than maybe some of the other plans, like you said, that you've done in the past?
I think that before, for me personally, and some of that's the plans themselves, and probably also just my where my mindset was at the same time. Um, I tended to probably be more of a focus extremely on nutrition or focus extremely on fitness, and just really struggled at other points to do both at the same time. And so I think that's probably the thing that was the most different from me, which is partially the program, and I think also where my mindset was at as well, is
Yeah.
it just being more well-rounded and comprehensive in that nature. And then also some of the, tools and the meds that you were able to help with kind of could get me through that initial block to then see some progress to then keep motivated and keep the mindset well. Um, and I think that that all came together to make it kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the ball got rolling versus like, 2 weeks would go well and then not go well. Like most weeks I lost in the program. And so it kind of it was more the consistency
Yeah.
of it and the being able to do the dual focus. And I think for me, because I had done so many other programs, that tracking had almost become a curse word. Like it had become
Yeah.
complicated. And I'd done my fitness pal, I'd done it in the other app, I've done it in all the things. And I'd even tried paper before, but sometimes it somehow just clicked, just having it on the one page. There were multiple pages that like I didn't have to technically weigh anything. Sometimes I would just to make sure to eyeball what a serving size was, but it felt less tedious. Like I just had to have a piece of paper and a pen. Like
Yes.
and so that helped me. I know some people love my fitness
Yeah.
pals or lose
Yeah.
it or other tools, but I
Right.
think for me those had become too overwhelming because I almost had too much knowledge. So like I would see and I'd be like, oh, but the macros weren't good on that. But maybe that's not what
Yeah.
that food needed to be about at that moment. And so it would just become too much information. And so just thinking about it as I need protein, I need veggies. I never
Yeah.
struggle with carbs. Who struggles
Right.
with carbs? But
I love
um
that you liked it more it was more simplified and
yeah.
more realistic. And like what you've proven is that you have the tools, you have the habits. Like you can rock this and you didn't have to calorie count. You didn't have to macro count. We are not doing that in the VIP weight loss system. And without that, you were able to track. It wasn't tedious. It wasn't, overwhelming or anything like that. And you just executed very, very nicely, girl. Amazing. I am so happy for you. I'm so happy for your success. I know, because we've already talked about it, that this is going to be something that you can do for many years to come because it's with all normal, real foods. You did this while vacationing and camping and doing all the things you love and celebrating and anniversaries and birthdays. And we talked about all of it. You had some of the treats. You went out for dinner with your husband, but you did it very responsibly. And so, what advice would you give another mama that's tried all the things, that's struggling with her weight, that wants a new path?
I think the first thing is making sure that your mindset is where it needs to be. Because I think that's the first step. You can have any program, you can have any support system, but if you're not really ready, so really evaluating how ready you are, really diving deep into your why and if it's going to motivate you enough. And then also, I mean, having that support system is really important. I'm really, really lucky in that space. Um, but just like you would set boundaries in your life for other things where you're like, well, I'm not going to work on Sundays because that's a family day, or I'm not going to go to this place because that person is toxic. You kind of have to set those boundaries to set yourself up. I mean, we still did eat out, but it
Yeah.
was a lot of I'll get a steak or a chicken, I get the veggie. Again, the carbs are always easy. And then it's also just not apologizing for what you're doing and like bringing your food, saying no. There's times when you're gonna go out and there's gonna be Mexican and you're gonna want the margaritas, but like, do you want the margaritas or do you want the chips and salsa? Like, and it's a lot of just as you would do with your kids, it's a lot of just making choices and like what choice are you gonna be proud of at the end of the day? Um, I don't know, that's a lot all
Love
at
it.
once.
Love it. I love all of it.
Um, but I
Yes.
think it's really just
Mhm.
showing up for yourself like you would for your kids or your friends and
Great advice.
just doing it. Like you got this and you can do it. And if you just keep doing it,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna have a couple Girl Scouts cookies because you got a Girl Scout in the house, but you
Yeah.
have a serving and then you put them in the freezer and then move on with your day. And I think that's what's then more sustainable or realistic. Like I know every restaurant that has grilled chicken on, like you can go to Culver's and you can literally get a grilled chicken sandwich and broccoli. Like you can go to Chick-fil-A and get a grilled chicken sandwich and a kale
Sure.
crunch,
Right?
like
If you have to, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
yeah,
You
and so
gotta
it's
find the
finding
resources.
that and putting those boundaries and then kind of giving food less power. Not every meal has to be amazing. If the goal of food is fuel, then not every meal has to be amazing. Some meals you want it to be like, that special anniversary dinner, you want the fancy steak with the nice side, right?
Right.
But that treat or that special thing should be sometimes, not all the time, and just readjusting the thought process for it. And then it's like even better too, because you're not
Yeah.
having it all the time. So
So good. And you've done such a good job at that the whole time. And so, congratulations. Your story and your success is meant to be shared. You have a light. I'm so happy for you. Congrats on all the hard work. You got to choose your hard. And it's hard to stay where you were. It's hard to do the work, but your hard has paid off and it's beautiful. So keep going, keep sharing your story, keep sharing your light, keep being that beautiful mama that you are. And I can't wait for this story to get out and touch many people and inspire. Thanks,
thanks,
Alicia.
Kim.